Gobble, gobble to the best family on YouTube. Well, in our opinion, at least, our wonderful and fantastic EDC family. I'm your host, Prophet, and with me, as always, is the professor. We thank you so much for joining us for another EDC video here on the compound. All right, EDC family, it's a really fun time of year. It's a thankful time of year. It's Thanksgiving, right? Which is why we have this wonderful little Olight turkey thing here. We're going to get that removed early so there's no wondering what's going on. And oh wait, is this going to be a first impression? No, EDC family, although we are going to have another first impression and unboxing video, we're going to talk a little bit about something that is on my mind today, and I hope that's okay. And we won't take up a lot of your time because, believe me, we are very thankful for each and every one of you. What you see on the table today is what I carried with me today. This is my EDC Bible. It's a wonderful, wonderful little tool, and in it, I can go through and really find anything that I need to find or what I want to study. And I know not everyone that watches this channel is a believer in Christ. And for that, I understand. The reason that that's out today and the reason that you see this little guy here today and this little guy here is because, again, this has been a very crazy 6 months. I've lost a lot of people. And one of them that I just lost here yesterday is super important to me. It was my grandpa Roger. And for anonymity purposes, I won't say his last name. Know that we lost a very wonderful human being, a wonderful man. And not just that, we lost somebody that actually really helped me find my love for EDC. We're going to talk about that just a little bit. I'm going to take my cross off, but God bless you, Grandpa. Okay. Now, while we get started here, EDC family, and while I'm kind of moving this wonderful, wonderful buck knife that was given to me by my grandpa, we're going to talk just a little bit. And what I'm going to do, if it's all right with you, and we don't do this ever. In fact, I don't think we've ever done this, but I would like to start, if it's all right with you folks, with a little bit of a Bible verse. Please, please feel free to pray along. I know a lot of my family could use the prayers and use the love right now. It's just one of those things that it happens, right? We all go through this. But one thing that really comes to my heart, and this is for my family, for my grandma, for my mom, for my aunts and uncles, my cousins, my brothers and sisters, my dad, my mom. One of the things that really comes to my mind is Matthew 11:28 to 30. And basically it's, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." I appreciate you guys letting me say that, EDC family. It's one of those things that's super important to me, to know that my grandfather at this very moment is resting with my Lord and Savior. And I thank Professor for allowing me to do this in the video, for I know he, not all the time, is super excited about this, because it can bring, discord and turn people off from the channel. But honestly, for me, the bottom line is, EDC family, is this is who we are. It's who I am. And I don't ever want to shove this down anyone's throat, but at the same time, I want all of you to come to God, to realize that you are loved, and that as hard as this world is, there is something greater than us. And I'll leave it at that. And with that, I think we're going to move on. But God bless you, Grandpa Roger. You are going to be sorely missed. And to be honest, EDC family, I know that I wouldn't be the man that I am today without a couple of very strong men and women in my life. From the men's side, my Grandpa Roger was the first one. And from that, my stepdad, who you all got to see on this channel. Without those two to give me guidance and to show me what it's like to be a man, I probably would have went down a much different path. So God bless you, Grandpa. I hope that you're watching us and you're looking down upon us. And for all my family, I love you. And we're going to get through these times. We will. We'll do it together. Now, I carried this today, this little wonderful Buck 110. A fun story about this knife is when I was younger, my grandpa and I were actually hiking in Wisconsin on Mount Simer. And I seen this knife and I was super excited, right? Imagine you're, a 10-year-old, 11-year-old boy, you find a knife in the sand or what have you, or, on the trail, and it's like, oh goodness, this is going to be mine. Well, I'm 10 or 11. My grandfather is like, no, that's not going to happen. You're going to end up getting in trouble with that. So I'm going to hold on to that. And about 5 years ago, he presented this knife to me as a gift, which he's given a pocket knife to a lot of my cousins as gifts over the years. And that's one thing that I wanted to bring in light to this Thanksgiving video, this box opening, if you will, that knives are something that are more than just cutting tools. My dad gives me a knife every year, and they're not always something super special. In fact, I actually have one right here. This came in a set that he got me, and it's just an old timer set from Cabela's, right? Nothing crazy. It came with a few little pocket knives, but I cherish all of these because my dad gave them to me, right? I mean, every Christmas I get excited about, a little knife that I'm going to get, and I have all of them, and I will cherish them forever. I take very good care of them. Every once in a while I'll use them for something that's very meaningful for me. And, I love you, Dad, and I thank you. And it's something that's really neat to be able to get these type of things every once in a while from family, because let's be honest, knives are something that can be given. I know my son, I bought him one of his first really nice pocket knives, and it was a match to this little one here, maybe a slightly different one. And it's just something that we do, is it not? I mean, we do that. And my son's partner, I gave him a really cool pen that does also light up from Olight. I got that for him for Christmas. And I've given him a couple knives as well. And it's one of these things where you have to realize, EDC family, that knives sometimes are more than just a cutting tool. Yes, it's great to be prepared. Yes, it's great to have something and to be able to be useful, when something needs to be cut or sliced or opened. There's no better feeling than that preparedness you get in the EDC world. But saying that is, I look at all these wonderful channels out there, like Metal Complex, for instance. He doesn't know we exist, but he's got some beautiful videos of his wife buying him, knives that he never ever thought that he'd be able to own for Christmas, things like that. And it makes me thankful. It makes me thankful for this whole community. So thank you, EDC family. Thank you for helping this little channel grow. Thank you for your positivity. Thank you for giving knives to your husbands, your wives, your grandchildren, EDC items. Doesn't even have to be a knife. It can be a purse. Anytime you fellas buy your lady a purse, that's an EDC item. You're helping her stay prepared. You're helping her stay on top of it. And this Thanksgiving, it's all about that. This world is full of roughness, and it's beautiful that we can move forward and have things that we can pass down for generations to come. Pretty cool, right? So with that being said, God bless you, Grandpa. I love you. I'm going to miss you. Thank you to all the grandpas and grandsons and granddaughters out there who give EDC items and heirlooms to move down in history. And with that, EDC family, we can get to the video. So once again, we have a first impression and unboxing here on the table, right? And what does that mean? That means we have a shorter version of our carryorbury game. Right, shorter version, right, Prophet? Yeah, I know. I know, guys. I do. I promise I know. But at the same time, some people may not know that, right? So what happens is we are going to review an item here in a moment. Today, that item is another Kizer item. Folks, seriously, we have a bin of boxes that we bought from Amazon, a bunch of knives that were at least 4.5 stars and up. And I just grab one before we do the show. I really don't look at it. I just grab it and we go because we want these videos to be authentic, right? That's kind of our thing here. So what happens in these mini games? Well, we're going to do a mini game. And if the item becomes need heavy over nail heavy, That means that the knife will be carried by us in real world applications around the compound, at work, out in the real world for at least 30 days. And that will get us enough time to collect the data we need to give you a real full carrier vary game and review, right? So when this game's done, we're not going to be saying go out and buy it or don't buy it. We are going to either be bearing it like we normally do if it doesn't take off, or we're going to carry it, right? And we're going to carry it and give it a good 30 days plus to see how it really works. Then we'll come back and do a full game. If you need a little bit more on that, go check out our video number 20, which is our rules remix. That's going to give you the rules for both the mini games and our full carrier berry game and review. Also, of course, it really helps you make sure that you understand how the channel works, right? So with that being said, here we go again. Our knife today is the Kizer, again, Banish. The Kizer Banish folding knife. Model number is V like Victor, 2876, A like Alpha, 1. Obviously, Kizer is a Chinese company, but like we talked about on our many other Kizer videos, both unboxing and full reviews, they do a very good job. And if you haven't checked them out, you should absolutely take a moment to check Kizer out. Now, this knife was about $45 when we purchased it off of Amazon, and I believe they're around the same price still. If not, I've heard that you can get this knife or a knife like this for under $40, which it's pretty incredible. Now, what I do know is it's going to be a smaller knife, which is why I have some smaller comparison knives ready, and I've got a few more in the drawer here, which we'll get to that in a moment. Now, disclosure as always, this knife today was purchased by us locally without any help or discounts from any retailer or maker. Once we open it and go through it, these are going to be our opinion, our first impression opinions. That doesn't mean it's yours. That doesn't mean all of these are the same. Heck, you could have an issue like we had with one of the most recent knives where it had an issue from the factory. You really never know what's going to happen. And that's kind of what's fun about these unboxings, right? So in order for us to do this right, what we need to do is kind of grow together and understand where this stuff comes from. We bought a whole bunch of these knives, like I was just saying, on Amazon. This one, again, was about $45. And I'm kind of excited to see what you get for sub $50, right? But before we do that, it's time for Show Me the Flipper, which you might remember is Prophet's pocket check time, okay? So what did I wear today? You kind of already knew. One of my main carry knife was this Buck 110, given to me by my grandpa Roger, and found by me many, many years ago. So this was my main carry. I also worked today a full shift at the auto shop, and I always have an Olight on me, especially in arc field, and in this case, my newer arc field Ultra. The reason I have this on me is because in the automotive world, you are going to need UV light. But every once in a while, it's nice to have a laser to do some pointing, and it's always good to have a flashlight that can go up to the 1200 lumens that this goes to. Great clip, love it. But I also, in lieu of today's video of a smaller knife, had my smaller carry as well, or some people call it their fifth pocket carry. What do we have in the fifth pocket carry today? We've got this wonderful titanium pen, flipper, clip, bolt action, right? And this here is the Tie Scribe Bolt version 1, I believe. It could be version 2. I'm sure you will let me know in the comment section. This wonderful little pen is what I carried today. Tie Scribe Bolt, titanium, lightweight, takes Pilot G2. And I always love having one of these on me. If you haven't been to C. Reiser's website, he makes fantastic knives, and they're Chinese made for the most part. This one here is the Ohio River Jack, and it is kind of a really neat, old school grandpa style, if you will, knife. And it has the modern titanium, kind of that modern look, that modern feel to a classic, right? So it's always nice to have one of these in the fifth pocket. And that was what I carried today. All right, so I'm going to put this stuff away, EDC family, And we are going to move on, right? So let's put the grandpa's knife away here. All right, beautiful. Thanks for bearing with me. So that wraps up Prophet's pocket check. Oh, and of course I had my 1909 quarter eagle with me on my pinky today, which is always fun. Okay, now that section's wrapped up, let's talk a little bit about this knife. This little guy, again, is called the Banish. If you don't know what banishing is, you can kind of think about it. It's one of those words where you're banishing something, you know, to another dimension or something like that. Well, in this case, this little guy is being banished to your fifth pocket, which I think is super cool. What a wonderful little name for the knife. I absolutely love that one. So we all know the name of the knife now and what it means, and we know the maker of the knife, which is Kizer. What we may not know is actually who designed this knife, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Jacob Lundquist of Jacob Lundquist Designs actually designed this little knife we're about to take a peek at. And what's really cool about this, and guys, I actually did not know this until I started researching the video, is Jacob Lundquist is from northern Minnesota, the same area where our professor is from. How cool is that? So Jacob Lundquist Designs, Jacob Lundquist is the founder, the creator, the designer, and a maker. So he was born and raised in northern Minnesota, and he recently has moved to Minneapolis, which is also in Minnesota. He has a Bachelor of Science in Design. He's been an industrial designer, a CNC machinist, a manufacturing engineer for almost 20 years. He has always had a knife on him. His first knife was a Swiss Army knife that was given to him by his grandpa when he was young. Despite cutting himself immediately, he was hooked. So since then, he's been really big into pocket knives, and where he didn't have pockets, he always liked to have something small in them. So this is fantastic, and we're going to learn a little bit more about him. And Jacob Lundquist Designs also has Quist Blade Works LLC, and that has been officially running since June of 2021. And he teamed up with Kizer on the Banish here, and which is kind of fitting for everything, right? And we're going to learn a little bit about that. All right, folks. Well, since we've learned about Jacob, since we've already learned about Kizer in the past, and since we know where the word Banish comes from on the Banish pocket knife, let's take Oh, that's right. We don't take Professor's Portal on these unboxings. So before we move on to opening the knife, this is where we usually check in with Granny. Now, instead of checking in with Granny, I thought it appropriate today that we check in with Grandpa. My grandpa had a lot of wonderful sayings, and like I said, a lot of who I am comes from him. And one of the things that comes to mind, and I'm sure Professor will find a picture to put up for you folks on the channel, is my grandfather always wore the same suspenders. And they were basically they were tape measure suspenders, you know, and they kind of had, you know, all the inches as you move up and around him. He was a very big man. You know, 6'4", I think he was, maybe 6'5". I forget exactly how tall he was, but he was very tall. And he was a bigger guy, had a little bit of a belly, no big deal. You know, he's a big boy, big farmer boy. And Grandpa used to always wear these suspenders. And I remember when I was little, I asked him, I said, Grandpa, why do you wear suspenders that have measuring tapes on them? Because then everybody can see how big you are. And he looked at me and he said, you know, Prophet, I'll never forget this. Grandpa says, the reason I wear these is that way I'm already doing them a favor. I'm helping them size me up already. That gets through with that part. All I got to do now is shake their hand. I love it. So my grandpa loved to let other people know that his guard was down, basically, right? Like, here I am in all my glory. Here's how big I am. You can measure it yourself if you want. I don't know exactly how many inches those suspenders were, but I'll tell you this, his heart was one of the hardest things that those suspenders had to hold in. I'll miss you, Grandpa. And now let's size up something else, talking about Grandpa's sizing up, right? Let's size up the Banish. Let's open her up. All right. So I've always noticed with Kizer, oh, it's kind of flimsy right off the bat. Let's see here. Nothing in the box, EDC family. So we got some fun stickers. Kizer's really great with stickers. These are really high quality stickers, actually. Holy cow. Not too bad. So we've got some high quality stickers here. Okay. This is one of my favorite things about Kizer. The extra hardware. Thank you. Fantastic idea. Looks like we have, let's see here. Oh, ooh, my goodness. Oh, so you get your little booklet here like you always get with Kizer. Kind of goes through their usage and care and their product class and all that fun stuff, their warranties, their website, that kind of stuff. You always get a microfiber cloth. Love that. And you get the knife. Oh, alrighty. Okay, let's get this put away and let's get our hands on the Kizer Banish, folks. Get all this out of the way here. Let's remove this. Let's kind of move these guys off to the side here. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see here. That is a tiny guy. It's like a sway back, huh? Button lock. I can see the button lock right. I mean, look at this in my hands. This might be a different comparison, EDC family. Oh, flew right open, didn't it? So that opened that way. Let's see here. It's got this. Oh, it's a front flipper too. Let's see. It kind of didn't work right. So it's got a little front flipper on the top here. Okay, you can kind of see it right there. Let's see. See that, EDC family? It's got the little opening here. So you can most likely Spidey flick. It's so cute. Oh, my fingers are huge. You can Spidey flick it. And it's got the button lock, so you can hold the button down and flip it open. And you can also top. You can also front flip it. And it has that sway back look. Really interesting. Pretty darn cool. The steel that you're going to get on these is Nitro V. My goodness, this is a tiny little guy. Is that running on bearings? Let me see something here, EDC family. Yeah, this little guy looks like it is running on bearings. I mean, I could be wrong. It is really hard to tell. We'd have to take it apart, but it honestly looks like it's running on bearings. Pretty interesting. Oh, I didn't even notice. We grabbed this tiny little flashlight, this little titanium Aurora, the A24 tie. Very tiny flashlight for a very tiny knife. Look at this little cute setup, EDC family. Now, if you couldn't throw these in your back pocket, I don't know what you could do. How cute is that? That's pretty fun. All right, so as always, EDC family, as I play with the knife, we are going to move into our lovely little Knowledge is King section. All right, well, since we're doing our Thanksgiving Knowledge is King section, I think it'd be nice to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. So you might not know this, EDC family, and you might, I'm not sure, but the first Thanksgiving celebration actually wasn't in November at all. So, in fact, some of the historians that I've studied suggest that it was actually held in mid-October, kind of similar to the present-day Canadian Thanksgiving. Do you know what president actually set the November date? It was President Abraham Lincoln, and he set that in order to coincide with the Pilgrims landing on Plymouth Rock. Okay, let's talk a little bit about gobbling. This is something I didn't know until I started actually doing a little bit of research for our Knowledge is King section, but only male turkeys make the well-known gobble gobble sound, right? So that gobble gobble sound that has come to be associated with Thanksgiving, male turkeys are even known as gobblers, right? Females make other noises. They purr, they cackle, things like that. I bet you didn't know that, did you? I bet some of our lovely hunters knew that though, right? No problem. Now, one more, I think, right? One more for the record. So the first Thanksgiving Day feast happened in 1621. Basically, it was 3 whole days that were dedicated to the first celebration. Now, although turkey was plentiful in the region and a very common food source, one thing you might not know, EDC family, that it's likely that turkey wasn't actually the star of the festivities. So they most likely used other fowls like, I don't know, ducks, geese, even swans were basically the big things that were believed to be served to the English settlers and the Native Americans. Now, what we usually do with our carryorbury stuff, EDC family, is we have a tiebreaker, right? We usually do 3 needs or 3 nails in these sections. Let's do a 4th. Let's do one more for our Knowledge is King section. Did you know that Benjamin Franklin actually wanted the national bird of the United States to be a turkey? I'm not kidding. So, in fact, there was a letter that was found written to his daughter where Benjamin Franklin actually wrote, and I quote, "For my own part, I wish that the bald eagle had not been chosen the representative of our country. For the truth, the turkey is in comparison a much more respectable bird." So, although Ben did not get his wish, his letter did inspire a song in the Tony-winning musical 1776 about the drafting of the Declaration of Independence. Folks, this is going to conclude our Thanksgiving Knowledge is King section. Let's skip to Professor's favorite section, all about them stats. Professor's Particulars. Let's go. Let's go. All right, first thing we want to do with this tiny little guy, and I'm sure you all want to see it as much as I do, we want to weigh it. Let's weigh it. Is that not power on here? I tell you, sometimes looking at this stuff under the table is a little difficult. So with our clip here, right, with our little clip, with our faux carbon fiber, right, with our little liners, let's see what this Nitro V thing weighs. Talk about just over 2 ounces. Pretty cool. All right, so we have just over 2 ounces of a blade, right? Okay, folks, we got our inches out. Let's take a peek here. So, again, we are, well, depending on how the police officer wants to measure, we're at about 2 1/4 inches of blade. Now, usable blade, we're probably more just over that 2-inch mark. And for our lovely friends overseas and everywhere else in the world, that's going to be roughly right around 52, 53 millimeters. So we have just over 2 inches of blade to just over 2 ounces. I'm no, I don't know, banishing act, folks, but that actually might be a need. We'll have to find out. Let's take a peek at some other little measurements while we have it out. I'd love to see how thin this blade stock is. My goodness, you really can't go wrong here. We're clubbing in at under, we're seriously at about 98 thou. That's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible for such a small blade to have that type of thinness. I absolutely love it. The one thing I'm not quite sure on, and I'm sure somebody in the comments will help me with this, is what does that arrow mean? Is that literally showing people where the cutting portion is? I'm a little concerned about that. I honestly not quite sure. Let's see, when it's closed, you can't see it. Is it for you to know what way closes it maybe? But you can only see it on one side. So if you're a righty, you're not going to really see that. If you're holding it left-handed, you're going to see that. Huh, interesting. Not quite sure what that's all about. Let's see how thick the whole thing is. So we are honestly under a 1/2 inch of total thickness. You have 434 thousandths of an inch. And if we're closed like we are, we can even use our caliper to do this. How great is this? So we are at 3 96 thousandths of an inch. Not bad. We do see on here that you can actually flip the pocket clip, okay, to the other side. And unlike some of the other Kizers that we've seen, they actually did what we always complain about, and they machined this little area out so it can go in there. And so this pocket clip actually will slide up and down without getting caught because it's sunken in there. Pretty nice. One thing that we will note too is if it is in your fifth pocket, you'll see that much out of it with the deep carry clip. Okay? That is going to conclude Professor's particulars on this little guy. And let's get banished and go on to the comparison game. Now, I was expecting a smaller knife. I wasn't expecting it to be this small, to be honest with you, EDC family. So we have a few things here. As you can see, some of my first thoughts were maybe this this Viper done by Montiago Knife Makers, or NKM, with M390, but that's going to dwarf it. So that's not really going to be helpful. So we will put that little guy away. We got a little sheath for it that actually even says Viper on it. We'll review this knife on the channel one day, but let's start that pile over there. My second option was to grab another one of these beauties, right? This is one of the limited editions from C. Reisner, where you've got 2 blades in here. I thought that'd be kind of neat to show you. But even with this, again, it is going to dwarf it. So let's not, I mean, heck, the blade alone is darn near bigger than the whole hand. It is bigger than the handle. That is pretty funny. So let's go ahead and put this guy away. That's not going to work. So my next thing was another C. Reisner, right? This is the Rosecrafts knife. So I thought this might work. And it's kind of starting to get into that era, right? But again, it's a lot bigger. So let's put that guy away. Now we can grab my dad's little gift into the old timer here, and we're finally going to get into that area, but it's an apple and orange, right? We need something in the comparison era to help. Well, how about this guy? Hey, we're finally getting there, folks. The Civivi Baby Banter that we unboxed not a few videos ago looks like it is going to be very close to the Banish. So let's give you some ideas here. Let's put these guys down and kind of start to see what we're dealing with here. All right, so there's a top-down view of that. And what we have here is our blades. I know it's kind of hard to see that, so let's put them this way, actually. So this is going to be our length here. Let's try to get them right there. So we're pretty darn close. So if you actually have one of these baby banters, it's going to be very close. Now, obviously, the sway back here is going to be a little bit different in shape, but you are going to kind of get a very similar type of knife. The sway back is also a lot thinner, and it's button lock opposed to liner lock here on the Banter. But the Banter, to me, it does open up a little bit better. Like trying to get my big thumb in here to open it this way is pretty difficult. I can get it to flick. Well, I was getting it to Spidey flick. There we go, little wrist action. I think the easiest way for me to open this one-handed is just by holding the button and giving it a little flip. So, Baby Banter works a little bit. Let's see if we have anything else that might work. Ah, here we go. As you all know, we have all the different sizes on these Kalashnikovs, which I absolutely love. This is going to be the AK-74 Boker Mini Automatic. And there's that chubby little guy. So it's funny, it's actually going to be a lot thicker, right? But it's going to have a much deeper pocket clip, and it is going to be automatic. As you can see, oh yeah, very, very nice little knife. But as you can kind of see, if you've owned one of these smaller guys like this, you're really getting, these are true small knives. I mean, these are almost, to me, they're almost keychain knives. Oops. Ooh, that needs to be clean. There we go. I mean, we can kind of see what this is developing for, right? So this is just a tiny little frame lock. No name brand, really, to be honest. Just a cheaper little knife. I mean, we really are getting into this type of territory, right? I mean, this is one of my smaller Swiss Army knives, who the creator of this knife, the designer of this knife, this was his first knife. You can kind of see, you know, the difference here. But, I mean, this is another really tiny money clip knife. And of course, obviously, you're going to get much more blade with this. I think the closest knife that we have here on the compound is going to be the Baby Banter, and it will be the Boker Mini. So this is going to give you your best idea, but like what we always like to do when we're doing comparisons is show it next to a Spyderco, because a lot of you have these Spydercos, right? So here's the Baby Banter, here is the Spyderco PM3, here is the Banish, and here is the little Boker. So you can kind of see here what we've got. It's a very, very small knife. That is going to leave the comparison section in the dust. We're going to banish away with that. And let's jump right into our carrier bury game. Now, some of you didn't like me using that whole giant tablet. So we're going to switch it up to this little guy. This is going to be a little bit more helpful, I believe, for you folks. Let's give it a little Thanksgiving wipe down, courtesy of Olight. All right, folks, you know the rules. We are going to first talk about any needs that I think on this knife, right? So let's get our little pen out, and we are going to write needs. Instead of having them all written out, folks, we'll do one at a time here, and it'll be just fine. So my first need on this guy is going to be the blade to weight ratio. So let's put a big 1 on here so Professor can do his thing. Blade to weight ratio. So, I mean, this is a no-brainer. You've got, again, 2 inches, just over 2 inches of usable knife, and you have just over 2 ounces of weight. I mean, and that's with pocket clip, that's with everything. I mean, this little guy literally weighs 2 ounces, and you've got a really nice usable blade with it. So our blade to weight ratio is our need number 1. Boop. All right, well, that's gone. Let's see if we have a number 2. And I'm going to say, honestly, we're going to go need number 2. And honestly, EDC family, this one's going to be really easy for me. It is going to be the blade. The blade is very thin. It comes down to a really nice edge. It's Nitro V. I mean, I know Nitro V isn't the best blade steel, but for sub 50 bucks, having a Nitro V steel blade is pretty good. Now, if you want to learn anything more about Nitro V steel, this channel absolutely couldn't tell you anyone better than knifesteelnerds.com, or you can find them on YouTube here at Knife Steel Nerds. Dr. Laren Thomas, the wonderful maker of Magna Cut, that's the same guy. He's written some amazing books that I still read to this day, and he is the best when it comes to learning about knife steels or any steels in general. But, so we're going to say the blade. The blade on this is going to be need number 2. So you've got the Nitro V, you've got the little thinness of it. Pretty darn good. I honestly can't say enough about that. The third one, I'm just going to say it because I think it's really neat that they were able to do it in this little package. We're going to talk about the pocket clip. And the reason we're going to talk about it, we're going to go need number 3. And we're going to write it big here because we've been complaining about this. We've been really complaining about this with Kizer. And I'll try to show it on camera here if I can. But you see this little area here, folks, that's kind of machined out, if you will. Okay. Well, this little area that's machined out, Kizer doesn't do this on all their knives, which is very sad. What that does is when you do have the pocket clip, either on this side or on this side, really doesn't matter, you can actually slide it in your pants and it doesn't get caught right here and it doesn't rip your pants open. And the pocket clip is nice and springy. I don't know how it will hold up, but again, this is a 5th pocket knife. There's not much stopping me from just removing that, saving the extra, you know, 1/4 ounce or whatever of weight and throwing it right in my 5th pocket or, you know, right inside something like this, you know, a little knife sheath like we see on this Montiago knife maker's knife here, the Viper. But there's nothing really stopping me from doing that. So bravo on the pocket clip, really, seriously. So let's move through those 1, 2, 3s real quick. What were our needs, folks? Do you remember? I'm thankful that you do. Remember, need number 1, need number 2, and need number 3. we can do them in reverse order, right? So need number 3 was our pocket clip. Need number 2 was our blade. And number 1 was our blade to weight. And that gets us through our first 3 needs. Not a bad start for the beautiful, tiny Banish. All right, let's see if we have any nails. Nail number 1. Actually, you know, we could probably even thin this down, EDC family. Let's do nails. We know we're going to have 1, right? Because you've probably already seen this one coming. I am blown away about this little arrow. Now, it's taking up some ugly space on the knife, Honestly, it really is. So let's take a look at this together. What in the world would they put that on there for? Why etch that in right there? Because it's a swayback and you might not know what way it is to close? I mean, if you're opening the knife, if you're going to buy the knife and you've seen it all, it came in the package closed like this. Once you open it for the first time, you're going to know what way it closes, right? To me, it's nonsense. We're just going to call it the blade arrow. I think that it's just silly. And that's just me. I'm not a big fan of having a bunch of stuff on the blade anyway. I love having something like the blade steel on it. And if you want to put your company logo, great. But an arrow telling you what way to shut it? I mean, why buy the knife if you don't know how to close it? That's just me. That honestly, it's just me. So we're gonna say that. So this one is gonna be one of those things where it might just be me, but we do have a second nail. Nail number 2 is going to be opening. So to me, whenever you have a small knife like this, right, we're going to grab the BB Banter real quick. This surprised me, EDC family, because it has these nice little studs here. And opening it, even with my larger hands, was super simple. Now, the design of this, going with this hole here, this little thumb hole opening, it's a great idea from a design standpoint, but you know, either the shape, I can get it to maybe thumb open 1 out of every 5 times. And even trying to spidey flick it, I mean, it's so small. I think that they would have done much better instead of having this huge hole here to just put a few thumb studs. And then the front flipper up here, again, great idea. I mean, that's cool, but I mean, how often are you going to be able to get the geometry right? And then we get 3 in a row, right? So maybe we'll be a little bit nicer to this top opener here, because that actually, now that I've got it down right, I'm actually moving on it. Okay, we're just going to kick it to this hole here. We're just going to call it the hole. We'll just say hole. That's what we're going to do. Let's make this easy. Is there a third? Oh yeah, that's odd. We're going to say ergonomics, actually. This pocket clip probably should have been over a bit. With where the knife wants to naturally fall into your hand, this pocket clip is a little bit too far to the right. I probably would have moved it over a few millimeters, because it actually, if you watch, I'll see if I can show it to you here. You can actually see the hot spot digging into my hand here, trying to, wow, you can feel it. It's almost cutting in right here. So with how the knife is made, the little sway back, it's kind of cool. Oh yeah, that cuts in really well when you're probably going to use it hard. I would have maybe rethought a different type of clip design on this, maybe a more of a flat clip design, maybe move it over a bit, because it really cuts in as you go to put your hand in it right here. So we're going to put pocket clip, hot spots. We'll just put hot spot. So we've got 3 needs. We've got 3 nails. Let's talk about those nails one more time. We've got the really, really silly blade arrow. We've got this hole, which honestly isn't great for flipping the knife with the geometry of the knife. Honestly, I am trying, actually. There we go. You really have to move with it. It would have been much better to have a thumb stud, in my opinion. So Again, though, we got to, you know, we might be carrying this guy, so I shouldn't be too hard on it. Speaking of, is this going to be a carry or a bury? I'm going to carry it, and I'm going to tell you why. I really am. I think the number one, or the fourth thing here, the fourth need, which brings it to our carry, is going to be Mr. Jacob Lundquist Designs. We're just going to call it Jacob. Oops, let's get his name spelled right. Jacob Lundquist Designs. Not only is Jacob a fellow Minnesotan resident, but I've looked up some of his other knife designs. The guy is pretty darn good. And unfortunately, I don't have many options of his, but aesthetically, this knife is very pleasing. It really, truly is. I would be surprised if he had something to do with this arrow here, or maybe it's something I don't realize. So I might be feeling really silly after we carry this knife for a while. Now, this isn't a huge user knife, right? This isn't something that I'm going to go baton with. Man, I tell you what, I've gotten pretty good at that flipper, though, up top on it. Well, I say that and then I fail again, right? There we go. Honestly, I'm looking forward to carrying the Banish as a fifth pocket knife. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And I'm looking forward to seeing if I'm going to be giving this the thumbs up during our carrier bury game. Or if the Banish is going to need an even smaller coffin, right? We're going to find out, because we are going to carry the Banish designed by Mr. Jacob Lundquist, and we're going to see how it goes. And that's a fact. That's what we're doing, EDC family. Thank you for bearing with me on this lovely carrier bury episode. Tell me if you like the smaller version of these little boogie boards, or if you want me to bring back the big one and watch me struggle with writing. I'd love to hear what you think about that, EDC family. Now, honestly, EDC family, one of the things I also want to thank you for is all of your patience with us. We talked about this in the last video. We are growing, and that's because of all you. So we thank you, right? It's been fantastic. So unless your hands and fingers are stuck in wax, ice cream, or in carbonite, you should be able to find us and help us online, right? Then you, our lovely EDC family, can help us grow. Remember, we're not social media experts, okay? We need help. So please feel free to lovingly click that search bar at your favorite site, app, and type in carrier bury. Show us what's in your pocket. Tell us what knife you want to see reviewed. Tell us what piece of gear you want to see reviewed, or even what your favorite gear or items are. We have Christmas coming up. Tell us what you want for Christmas. Tell us what's on that list, right? Now, also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. With your help, we will be the most prepared family on YouTube and beyond. Now, one more quick thing. It doesn't hurt to visit and to support akti.org. They are the American Knife and Tool Institute, and they're on the front lines, helping us keep our freedoms and our rights. You should know about your knife rights anyways. Remember, we're YouTubers. Don't take our word for it. We're not lawyers. We're YouTubers. And that brings us to our final loving, thankful Thanksgiving message. Until next time, EDC family, keep those blades sharp. Keep those flashlights charged. And for goodness sakes, keep those Band-Aids close. Remember, you are the best tool in your daily EDC loadout. God bless you. We'll see you next time. This episode was dedicated in loving memory to my Grandpa Roger. Love you. We'll miss you. I'll see you in heaven one day, big guy. Thank you, EDC family. Happy Thanksgiving. And remember, gobble, gobble, gobble. EDC family, remember, gobble, gobble, gobble. We love you, EDC family. Here's a Band-Aid for you, turkey. I'm not a chicken, you're a turkey. Love you, Grandpa. Thank you for this. I will be giving this to my boy. Oh, keep those blades. Keep those blades sharp. Keep those flashlights charged. Keep those Band-Aids close. And keep those suspenders measuring. Until next time, EDC family, God bless you. We will see you next time.